There is where you are, and there is where you want to get to. In between, you need a bridge. Bridges can be technology, knowledge, connections. ECU is the bridge between your world and the whole world.
Hey, selamat siang teman-teman semua. Terima kasih sudah hadir di platform kami siang hari ini pada hari Jumat tanggal 16 April 2021. Topik kita hari ini adalah membandingkan pengalaman belajar di Indonesia dan juga di Australia. Berjudul We Are Comparing Indonesian-Australian Study Experiences and Tips to Prepare for Your Australian Studies. So just before we begin, saya juga ingin mengingatkan teman-teman bahwa di akhir acara kita punya 10 vouchers berjumlah Rp100.000 setiap vouchernya bagi 10 pertanyaan terbaik yang dilontarkan oleh teman-teman semua during the session. Persyaratannya sangat mudah. Pertama, tentunya jangan lupa bertanya, mengajukan pertanyaan apapun pertanyaan Anda, ya, agar sesi kita menjadi lebih menarik dan interaktif tentunya. Kedua, setelah sesi ini berakhir, jangan lupa follow IG-nya AECC Global Indonesia dan juga IG-nya Edith Cowan University. Kemudian jangan lupa juga register ke e-guide ECU seperti yang tertera di layar Anda. Dan yang ketiga, jangan lupa direct message ke IG-nya AECC Indonesia paling lambat pada tanggal 23 April 2021 jam 5 sore. Nanti pemenangnya akan dihubungi oleh AECC Global Indonesia personally. Jadi jangan lupa teman-teman, please stay tune hingga akhir acara ini. Oke, bersama dengan saya, Lange Sunarso dari AECC Global. Hari ini, we have some distinguished guests from Edith Cowan University, live from sunny Perth. Let's say hello to Natalie Bergen, the International Account Manager from the International Office of Edith Cowan University, atau disingkat ECU ya, supaya nggak terlalu panjang. Along with her, we also have Isabelle Lange, who finished a degree in politics and international affairs. And during her study, she also had the experience as an exchange student for 6 months at the University of Parahyangan di Bandung. Also, we have Pak Sugiyanto, who did his Master of Communication at ECU. And currently, as you can see, he is also a Ph.D. student in communication student at ECU. All right, so later on, I would like to introduce themselves to you guys and also share their valuable experience. Now, without further ado, let's start the session. I'm going to, of course, ask Isabelle and Pak Sugi, and Natalie, you can jump in anytime you like. All right. My first question would be for you to tell us a little bit about yourself. Also, tell us a little bit on your experience when studying and why you chose Indonesia. Why you chose Indonesia, and what course, of course.
Sure. Okay. Yep. So hello semua. My name's Isabelle. Nice to meet you all. I completed, as Lani said, a Bachelor of Politics and International Relations. way back in 2016. And I chose to study in Indonesia for a couple of reasons. I'm not sure if you're aware, but it's quite common for students in Australia, particularly Perth, to study Indonesian in primary school. So I've always had an interest in Indonesia from completing some primary school studies. And it's also a near neighbour to Australia, so close. Quite a lot of people in Perth go to Bali quite a bit, which I'm sure our guest today would be well aware of. And the other reason was I actually had a scholarship which I received for that study in Indonesia. So that always helps as well, a little bit of a financial assistance for when I was studying over there.
Oh, okay. What about you, Pak Sugi? Why did you choose to do your Master of Communication at ECU? And after that, your PhD, of course.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. Selamat siang, selamat sore, selamat siang ya di Indonesia.
Masih.
Masih siang. It's very nice to meet you all, and I'm very excited to share my experience here, being an international student in Australia. It's been such a great experience for me, highly rewarding. I think why Australia is kind of like personal. It's proximate, very close to Indonesia. My parents are old, so thinking about if there's anything which happened actually, my mom passed away, and then it's kind of like a matter of hours I can actually fly back to Indonesia. But more importantly is about high quality education here in Australia. That, as we can see from different ranking systems in the world, Australia always has universities in the 100 200 range, and I believe in various various aspects, ECU is one of the top universities in Australia. In addition to that, student visa allows students in general to work part-time, which is really good. So while gaining money is one thing, but for me, gaining experience working with diverse background is just like a big bonus for me. And Australia is a vast continent, is a big country, so it opens opportunity to travel, wherever you go, if you have time, if you have the money to do so. Thank
Right,
you.
right. Cool. I'm sure you have lots of memorable experience that you'd like to share with the audience a little bit later on. But I was just wondering, I'd like starting with you, Isabelle, to compare. I mean, to compare your life in Perth, being a very, I would say, small city, and then suddenly you studied in Bandung, which is, very crowded, traffic all the time with all the hustle bustle, from the morning until the evening, as well as you, Pak Sugi, to compare your life in Jakarta, and then suddenly you have to go to Perth, where you hardly see anybody, maybe after a certain hours. Yeah. Please share with us how did you manage. I'm sure as a student ya teman-teman, sebagai seorang student kadang-kadang pindah dari satu kota yang begitu ramai ke kota yang begitu sepi, atau sebaliknya pasti ada culture shock yang kita alami ya. Could you tell us a little bit about that? Starting from you, Isabelle, please.
Sure, yeah, okay. So for me, it was, I won't lie, it was a bit of a culture shock. I'm actually from quite a small town in Western Australia called Pinjarra. So it's, there's probably only about a couple of thousand people. So when I moved from my university in Perth to a university in Bandung, it was definitely a bit of a, there's so many people here. One of the interesting things I found was just the little differences, but they had a big impact. So in Perth, you're very used to things like traffic lights and using these buttons at the traffic lights to cross the roads, and the vehicles are all quite organized in a sense that, they'll wait until the signals indicate they can go and that sort of thing. Whereas right outside my university in Bandung, there's no traffic lights. It's just constant traffic. So learning how to navigate that kind of smaller changes was quite interesting, and quite fun. I think we eventually mastered, I call it the magic hand now, the old, walk right in front of that speeding car, no worries. The car's definitely going to stop. It's all good. You'll be safe. So it took us all a few weeks. But yeah, things like that I found a little bit challenging in the beginning. But once you've mastered it, it was, just an everyday kind of occurrence, really.
So on the
Yeah.
contrary, Sugi gimana?
Yeah, I guess it's quite the opposite to me because I used to live in the outskirts of Jakarta. I spend most of my time in the central part of Jakarta, so I'm basically, so used to the traffic, so used to the, the hustle bustle, as you said, and moving to Perth, which has 1.2, 1.5 million people. And after 6 p.m., like, where's everyone? Where's my tukang bakso? Where's my nasi goreng? You know, uh, guy. So it was that kind of transition. Like realizing that, look, you are now in a different place. You got to learn, make the best of it, make the best out of it. And I guess if Isabel has to deal with the irregularities, I have to deal with the regularities. So I have to like make sure that I go to the bus stop right in time. I had to, there was a couple times at least that I took a wrong bus, and that's part of the learning curve. So it's enjoyable. It's laughable. Afterwards, but when you were doing it, it's kind of like, oh, why I'm doing this, why I'm doing that. But at the end of the day, you learn something new.
Yeah, that was similar to me, Sugi, when you mentioned you getting used to there being no bakso and things. For me, it was, this is great. It's 11 p.m. The mee goreng outside my kos is still open. Pak's already prepared there. He's got our favorite flavor, all good to go. So those are definitely some of the highlights of living in such a big city like Bandung, and being able to walk down the street and there's a few places that are still open, and the local ibu on the side of the road, she's got her nasi goreng and nasi ayam all prepared and ready for everybody.
Yeah, but I guess also it's good for us students, like to be in a quieter place where you can actually focus on things that you need to focus on, your academics life, and as well as if you have work to do and things like that, you don't have to be really worry about traffic and time that you have to spend extra to get from point A to point B.
Right, right. So, what's your important tip to manage the culture shock? I used to have a male student doing master degree who broke down to tears because of this culture shock in the first 2 weeks. He was in Brisbane. So, do you have any tip for our audience? Apa yang
Yeah, I
mesti
think
dilakukan?
first of all, it is you who needs to change. You cannot change where you are, but it is you who needs to change. It's really important to think that, look, you are not being placed in a situations unless you are capable of improving yourself. That's it. That is my principle. That's why I'm here, why I was there. There was always a reason for that. um that is one thing. And the second of all is that, find the opportunity to get in touch with other people, find supports, like, uh, find the network. um I find the volunteering opportunities here, through organizations, through universities. It helps a lot, for me to get uh, connected to people, to ask around about things. One time I'm a Muslim. I grew up in a predominantly Muslim community. So I do not know what to expect when I got an invitation to a Christmas dinner, for example. I don't want to be rude, so I ask around, like, what do I need to do? Things like that. Just trying to embrace the culture. And also, it's really important as well that you make sure uh, your well-being is maintained, and you are the person who knows how to deal with that kind of situation.
Hmm, hmm. Any additional tips from you, Isabelle, in a totally different
Yeah.
situation?
Not totally different, but I think you sort of explained it well in the sense that I think it's pretty universal the way to overcome culture shock and problems when you're in another country. And it's sort of similar to how you would approach dealing with it in your own country by making friends and joining the clubs and organizations and things that are going on at your university. That's kind of how I built up some really good friendships in Indonesia. And it's also how I built quite a few good friendships back in Perth at my university as well. So, for instance, when I was in Bandung, I joined we had a UN kind of student youth group where we would meet and we'd talk about things related to the United Nations. And Unpad had a very big following for that. So it was a really great opportunity to meet regularly with friends and have chats over coffees or, in the local warungs outside the university. And I think that's very much similar to the way you can make friends in Perth as well by attending things that are run by the university clubs. I had a debating society that I was a member of in Perth. So there's all sorts of things as well, not just, the boring things like debating for some people. There's sports, there's computing, there's gaming, there's anime and manga clubs. There's all sorts of things that you can do to develop friendships.
Right. Jadi kesimpulannya
Yeah.
teman-teman, Pak Sugi?
Maybe I can add one more. We have a big Indonesian community here in Perth. Either it's faith-based, ethnic group-based, like student associations. There are at least 2 student associations here, both at the state level or in university levels. So it's very easy to get connected to people. There's also organization like Australia Indonesia Youth Association, for example.
Right.
There's something like that is available that you can reach to, and they are, there's always nice people who will be willing to help you, and especially in the first few weeks of your time here in Perth.
Right. Jadi oke, kesimpulannya teman-teman, perubahan harus datang dari diri kita ya. Kita harus banyak menyesuaikan diri terhadap culture yang baru Jangan mengurung diri, tentunya kita harus banyak mencari teman, tentunya kita harus banyak terlibat di different organizations, kalau bisa ikut clubs, kalau bisa ikut asosiasi, tentu itu sangat membantu kita untuk settle di negara yang baru tentunya ya. Kedua, pertanyaan saya berikutnya, my next question would be, please share to us on your study experience. Studying in a different country than your country, I'm sure there are lots of adjustment for you to make. Yeah. So yeah, please share those experience, the challenges, and how you manage the challenges as well. Especially maybe for Pak Sugi in this pandemic situation. Yeah. Start with you, Isi.
Yeah, thank you. So I guess uh, from the last time I was a student to the time I commenced my master's, there was a big gap. So there was a long time there. It was such a long period that I was not, being in the academia, and I didn't know what has changed in Indonesia, since I left university. But what I can tell is that I guess the technologies, the learning technologies, and as well as the system here is kind of different in so many ways. There are like certain details that you need to be that you have to pay attention to, like how to enroll, how to find this, how to get to that place, how to access a certain service and things like that. Um, there's always help. There's always services, supports available. You can always go to the information or to the student hub. They will refer you to the relevant service or support providers. And I guess there is one thing that is a little bit overwhelming in the first weeks, because kind of like you have everything, but for a new student, like you need to navigate, like where things are and things like that. The what is it? The environment, the nature of the lecturers, the tutors, they are there to help you improve. So they are very approachable. If you have any issue, just be an open slate in a way, and also be honest. Like, look, I find it really hard to understand this reading, for example. Even if there is anything that force you to to request for extension, like if it is, you tend to be eligible for that, and it's very very approachable, I would say. And the environment is not to punish you or to discipline you, but it's a place where you can grow, as a individual, and also academically.
Sounds like very different with the situation di Indonesia ya. Beberapa students yang ngobrol kalau belajar di Indonesia tuh susah banget ketemu dosen, maksudnya nggak segampang itu gitu loh. Being open with the lecturer, and nggak gampang. Katanya kalau di Indonesia nggak gampang.
Yeah, I guess it's a matter of there's cultural aspect of that, like with the power relations, like how we place like teachers, lecturers, like in our society, how we tend to view them with with distance, and here is more like egalitarian, like it's kind of like equal, but like you need to make sure that you treat them with respect as well.
Of course. Yeah. Anything to add to that, Isabelle? What about your experience while you are in Unpar?
Yeah, I think basically a few opposites to what Sugi was saying about studying in Australia or in Perth in particular. I think the technology aspect, there wasn't a great deal of things for you to use as a student, as an international student in Unpad, for instance. There, in Australia, it's quite common to submit assignments electronically through a student portal, whereas in Indonesia, you would submit them by printing them out. There were also most students in Australia do their readings online, and they access for their research journal articles through a big system that the university owns. So you can just put into, it's kind of like a Google but for academics, where you put in things that you're wanting to look up to help with your essays or your assignments, and you can use those for referencing. At Unpad, we didn't really have a database like that, so there was a lot of manual research, going to the library, borrowing books, or just using the World Wide Web as it is, which was quite different to what I was used to in Perth with all the information in the one place. I think something else that really intrigued me here was group essays. So you would work on a single essay together with a few other students, whereas in Australia, when you write an essay, it's very much an individual kind of assignment. It's something that you do as one student. And then we have group assignments, which are normally presentations that you would do with other students. So learning to navigate the kind of the group work and being a little bit less independent, I think, was something that I kind of had to unlearn a little bit when I was in Indonesia. So yeah, there's just some few interesting differences like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I guess based on my experience, there's a bunch of supports from the academic side of that we have the academic skill centers, you have the I can't remember, like peer students, like for certain units, they have some sessions. If you have any questions related to referencing, for example, or like using technology like EndNote and stuff like that. So there's always kind of workshops or trainings, or like something that you can access for free, which is really good. And especially for like English as a second language, writing, academic writing, because for us, like sometimes it's really hard to tell what was the difference between assert, stress, highlight, underscore, argue, state, say, all these things. For example, there's nuance in like in those words.
Oke. Jadi walaupun ada banyak perbedaan antara belajar di Indonesia dan di Australia, di mana kita udah biasa, tapi ada support yang diberikan oleh para lecturers ya. Tetap ada support yang diberikan. So don't worry teman-teman, walaupun kita pasti akan mengalami atau menghadapi beberapa masalah karena perbedaan culture ini, pasti akan ada support yang diberikan. Next, you haven't touched a little bit on the pandemic side, Pak Sugi. Now that you have to study online and you used to study offline, I mean, in Indonesia itself, it's a difficulty for students to get used to study online because of course, because of the internet connection. Sometimes even in Jakarta, where suddenly your internet connection drops. How do you feel about that? What's the biggest challenge for you? And then, you still have to do it anyway. So any tips for the upcoming students if they still have to do online?
Yeah, so I guess yeah, there's a big change. So it was in the third or fourth week in my second was it my second semester, I guess. that we had to change completely to online, and it was such a big hit because I'm a very outgoing person, so I need to meet people. I need to, I really enjoy the chit chat before and after classes, and also having the chance to ask questions after the classes. And the online uh, platforms wouldn't allow us to do so, which is kind of one of the setbacks. But also we can take that as an opportunity to what is it, develop new skills, I would say, because technology is new. I've I've never used what's called a Zoom, a Blackboard, collaborate on things like that. At the end of the day, you learn something. And also the world is changing, the world keeps changing. um, you will have to get adjusted to it anyway, regardless uh, whether there is this pandemic or not. um, and the one thing that I realize, we don't really have that attention in Indonesia, I think, is the mental health. uh, so in the first week, so there's always like emails, and I think there was also text messages to our phones, cell phones, from the university. Look, if you need some help, you can access this surface, like mental health, medical center is always available, something like that, which is kind of nice, knowing that in case you need some help, somebody is there to help you.
Oh, cool. Oke, jadi tetap ada support ya dari ECU in regards to this COVID-19 pandemic. There are always supports given to the students
Yes.
melalui email, melalui SMS. Terutama they are really caring about the mental health support for the students.
Yes.
Thank you, Isabelle and Pak Sugi. Now, I'd like to ask Natalie a little bit about ECU. Natalie, why don't you explain a little bit about the ranking of ECU, about the industry, about the organizations around ECU, the studying online currently, and then the support provided for international students while they are studying online, as well as the internship that goes in at ECU.
Sure. And just a big thank you to Sugi and Isabelle for sharing their experience. Very interesting. So I think they touched on so many points. I'll just summarize them. So yes, ECU is internationally recognized. We're in the 2.5% of universities across the world. So you know that you're getting a high quality degree when you study at ECU. You're learning from the best. So not only are the teachers highly ranked in teaching quality, actually ECU has been named the top public university for teaching quality in 4 years in a row now, which we're very, very proud. So yes, our teachers are doing a great job at teaching, but they also have significant professional experience in their own fields. And that goes into our industry links. So we want our students, while they're studying, to be prepared for their future career as well. We do this in a number of ways, but starting off with the curriculum. So the curriculum is developed with industry collaboration to make sure that our graduates have the skills that they need. We have outstanding facilities. So depending on what you're studying, Sugi is doing communications. For an engineering student, they'll need more access to labs, things like that. You're studying in state-of-the-art facilities, some of the best in the world, really. And I think Izzy was talking about this as well. It's not only the facilities, it's also the fact that you have access to all this technology. So the library is online. I mean, we have a physical library at ECU, beautiful, super modern, great places for students to sit and study there as well. But we also have our digital library where you can access all this information online. So you spoke about Blackboard, which is our online platform. So even if you're studying face-to-face, you're still accessing a lot of your information through Blackboard. This is how you'd be submitting your assignments and things like that as well. But you'd also get, your unit plans. You'd know from day one what we were expecting from you from each of your classes. You'll know from day one, what your assignments are going to be, which week they're going to be required to do. So all this information is really important for you to be able to plan your semester properly. We have a very supportive environment. So not only from our teachers, but as well, we have things like our academic skills, preparation, very helpful for our international students specifically. Writing a whole essay in English can be a little bit daunting, but you can go and you can get someone to proofread your essay for free and give you some tips on how to improve it. And finally, most of our courses have an applied learning component in it. They're often compulsory even. And this would mean that while you are studying at ECU, you'd be doing something like a practicum, a unit of volunteering 1 day a week, perhaps, somewhere where you're getting work experience. It can be a full internship for a full semester. There's lots of different ways, but we want the students to get some sort of work experience while they're studying. So when you graduate, you have your extra network links already made, and you have something to put on your CV already as well.
Oh, okay, cool. Before we go to the next slide, Natalie, there are some questions that audience would like to ask. Donnie will put up the questions. Donnie?
Sure.
Yeah, so that we can. Oh, cool. So there is a question from Nicholas. How does embarking a study journey in Australia help Indonesian students to grow mentally and professionally? Guys, who would like to answer the question?
I think that's a really good question, and it's really fundamental. And I guess your experience as a student here will help you grow mentally and professionally in every level. First of all, you have to be away from home. It is one thing. Being someone who is resilient, it's one thing. So you have to be strong. You have to be able to manage time. You have to balance your life and university and work and some other commitments that you have. And that is one particular skill I learned along the way as well. And professionally, look, in here you will be in touch, or you'll get to know people from different backgrounds. Your lecturers, sometimes someone from the industry, and if you go out and meet people in the organizations or wherever, you can actually get connected to people who can be someone who can refer you to a job or who can offer you a job. I was offered a job actually at ECU as a peer assistant because I know some people there. Not that I know because I know them in person, but because I was involved in volunteering activities and stuff like that, and they know that I am someone who has the qualities for a particular position. So I think in many ways, your experience will help you grow mentally, professionally, and academically.
Yep.
All right. So I cannot speak uh, for all PhD students. I guess I'll speak based on my experience. So what I did was I was approaching one of the high degree research, somebody from there was one of the professors. Basically, I was checking what my I was I had my interest in particular area, and I was looking into the websites. Look, maybe particular professors or lecturers, they would be a good fit for my research, and I approached them um, with my kind of draft proposal. I asked them, look, I have this interest. I have an interest in this project. If you have any interest in being in doing this project together and being my supervisor, or if there are also certain what's called uh, priorities, like research priorities in ECU. There was this one that I can remember. It's more about um I can digital humanities, engineering, or things like that. I can remember the terms anyway. So the
Mm.
information are there, but you need to make sure that your research proposal has the significance, offers some significance that is aligned to the university's priorities.
Okay, so I guess having done your master degree at ECU makes it a little bit easier for you to find a supervisor. I think that's the essence of the questions, because it's
Yes.
not easy for us to get a supervisor. Yes, Natalie, you were about to say something.
Yes, I have a good link that's on the website that gives lots of information to students on what they need to do in order to send that to build a good application for a PhD or a master's by research. So we'll share that with the group. It's very helpful, sort of a step-by-step guide on what you need to do.
Okay, before we answer the next questions, maybe there's a WhatsApp here to me. You're talking about an applied learning earlier. How can we do it when we are studying online? Maybe that questions can lead to your next explanation on studying online, Natalie?
Sure. So yes, very good question. Our online study at the moment for most of our courses that we're offering online, the intention is for you to be coming to Perth eventually, right? So this is a temporary solution to an ongoing problem that we're having with the borders closed. So we do want to give the students opportunities to engage with the Australian workforce. And the way that we do that generally is towards your last semester. So you'll be here by then, is what I'm trying to say, hopefully. You can start online, but this is with the intention that you will be transitioning onshore in time to do your applied learning modules.
Okay, okay. Right. Next, Donnie hasn't put on the questions. Is there any masterclass teaser for MBA program?
No, not at the moment. It's something we are looking into, though. Good question. And we'll definitely feed that back to our marketing department.
I asked for my daughter. I'm graduated from Bachelor of Engineering. Need your insight whether should I take MBA or Master of Business Analytics.
Okay, very specific question that I would probably take offline to give you all the information. But yeah, definitely an MBA or a Master of Business Analysis is something that Bachelor of Engineering students can do to increase and elevate what they've already done as a Bachelor of Engineering. It really depends what students want to do when they finish their degree. We have a lot of Bachelor of Engineering students who go into the Master of Engineering. That leads to professional registration in Australia to work as an engineer. We also have a lot going into Master of Project Management, very popular course for engineering students, which gives you, again, different career opportunities. So really, I think it's a question of sitting down with the student and really developing what you want to do when you graduate to find the perfect course for you.
Okay, let's continue with your slides, Natalie.
Okay, well, this one is just quickly to illustrate. We have over 250 courses at ECU. So anything that you want to study, I'm sure that we can help you with. And AACC Global can guide you through the maze of courses that we have to find the one that will suit you best. And okay, so, and this was in the questions as well, a little bit about studying online. So at the moment, I mean, yes, we do have lots of courses that are fully online, but that's not really the space that we're working in. Really what we're trying to do is give the students opportunities to start online while the borders are still closed to be able to then transition onshore. So a couple of advantages to this. Number one, even if you're studying offshore, as long as you have applied for your student visa and is granted, you are still, that time will still count towards your eligibility for your post-study work rights. So the time that you will be able to work as a graduate in Australia after you finish your degree. Lots of conditions with that. Again, I would recommend a bigger conversation with AACC Global to make sure that you're picking the right course for this. We're also giving our students a 30% scholarship at the moment for online studies. So it's a way for you to save money. It's also a way for you to save money on your accommodation and things like that because you'll be studying from home. You also have access to scholarships when you finally get to come on shore. And I'll talk about those in a minute. An advantage of studying online is really the flexibility of the course. So while you're on a student visa in Australia, you must absolutely study full time. This is a requirement of your student visa. But while you're studying online and in Indonesia, you're allowed to take one unit at a time. That's fine. You know, you can really decide what you prefer.
Okay.
And yeah.
Yeah, we do have quite a lot of questions.
Sure.
Let's talk a little bit about the scholarship, a favorite subject that students would like to know, and after that we'll go on the questions.
Okay, quickly, scholarships. Yes, 30% while you're studying online. Then if you're studying an undergraduate degree, you have access to a 20% scholarship for the full duration of your studies, and a master degree by coursework, 20% for your first year. For the research degrees, they very much vary, and mostly are government scholarships that you apply for outside of the university.
Okay, so 30% when studying online, but when you go offline in Australia, you can either get the 20% of tuition fees for undergraduate or up to 20% of tuition fees. So the 30% doesn't apply anymore, right?
Right.
Okay. Next, the next question would be, can you share per situation during COVID-19 and what local government support to international students compared to other states in Australia? Very good questions. Who would like to answer this?
Okay, I can answer. So in Perth, we've been incredibly lucky. We were in lockdown for 6 weeks back in April 2020. After that, things went pretty much back to normal. We don't really have any social distancing. No one wears masks. We can pretty much go on our lives as per usual. We can't travel. The borders are closed. That's the only thing that's really impacted, and of course is impacting our international students trying to come on shore. As for the government help, the government it wasn't really the government that was helping the international students. It was more the institutions that they were studying at. And when you're studying at a university, a reputable university like ECU, Sugi was sharing before, we were concerned with the mental health of our students, but we also did a lot of financial help towards their tuition fees. We employed a bunch of students to also give them some income, but also to be able to connect with all the other students and make sure that they know that we care and we want them to feel safe when they're so far away from home in such crazy times, really.
Yeah, and there's also Guild, the Guild, ECU Guild. They organized, I can remember what is it, like food
Yes,
provision
food delivery.
food delivery for students who are impacted by COVID. There's also Virtual International Cafe. Basically, it is a virtual platform where international students can share their experience throughout this pandemic, and I was part of that too, and it was really incredible.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. So to both panel students, what was the main difference you experienced in regards to study or learning style between Indonesia and Australia? From Elizabeth, Renata, we talked about it earlier, but if you want to answer it, this one in short, technology is one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it's the big difference is more the on the analytical critical thinking aspect of that in here the originality of your idea, your arguments is required. In Indonesia, there's a tendency that we tend to become more descriptive narrative in explaining things, but in here you've got to be really analytical in providing your arguments and stuff like that.
Okay, another question from Nicholas. How do you cope with the sudden massive changes in learning experience, shifting from studying in Indonesia to Australia, and how do you overcome those obstacles?
I guess it is for me again.
Yeah, I suppose,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I'm famous.
You are.
Okay, so I guess you just be ready to make mistakes. Don't be
Mm,
afraid to make mistakes. You do not know anything. Even up until now, there's one learning technology called Pebble Pad. I don't even know what the hell it is used for. I don't know. Like, you don't have to know everything, but at least know that the help, the support is there, the help is there.
you can ask
Um,
questions, yeah?
yes.
Mm, right. Uh, to Miss Lange, I bet you remember Gambul and Pak Muswaro. She does. For Bachelor of Nursing, is it open for July 2021 intake?
Bachelor's of Nursing is a program that we can't do online. Absolutely have to be here in order to do your practical experiences. So no, it's not available for students studying online.
Mm-hmm. Another one for you, Izzy. If you're given another opportunity to study in Indonesia again, would you do it again? If yes, where about?
Yeah, absolutely, of course. I enjoy everything about my experience. Where would I do it again? That's a really good question. I think I very much enjoyed Yogyakarta. So I would. Are you from there, Sugi?
I spent 11 years in Jogja.
There you go. Yeah, Jogja. It's such another beautiful city, but it's still got a little bit of that kampong country kind of feel to it. So for me, as someone who's from a little bit of a country area in Perth, it really spoke to me and is a place that I would think I'd keep close to my heart and would very much enjoy spending time in.
For you, your
Yes, I
day-to-day
guess.
activity?
Well, my day to day, I'm just a normal guy. I'm not that special. I
When
wake up
working
early,
with your supervisor?
yeah, in the morning. But I guess it's more. What is it? I I spend like 6 to 7 hours. Doing my part of my research, like either reading, writing, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of boring if you take it that way, but it's a very uh, interesting process. Like headache sometimes, but overall is really interesting process.
Yeah.
um with working with my supervisor, it's easy because I guess I guess there's one big difference, I guess. I know some of my friends who are doing PhD in Indonesia, they have some issue with um, securing appointments with their supervisors. In here, from the very beginning, we have to be very clear, like how often are we going to meet.
Okay.
So
What?
I have weekly meeting and stuff like that. So everything
Okay.
is clear. Everyone is highly committed to their job, and it's very easy.
So you have weekly meeting, you said. How
Yes.
long for?
It depends. If it is just
Okay.
like a check-in, like yesterday it was only like 20 minutes because it's like
Okay. 20
how
minutes to an
I'm doing.
hour.
Yeah, but sometimes if there is anything substantial, like about my draft or something like that, it could take
Right.
up to like 1 hour, maybe a little bit more. Depends.
An additional question, Pasugi, from me. You have to have two supervisors, right?
Yes.
That's, do you meet both supervisors at different time, or how does it work with two supervisors?
Typically they have different roles. So one is so one supervisor is the one who's responsible for your day-to-day progress, I would say, and the one is kind of like more like overarching view. So with one supervisor, I have like weekly meeting, with the other one is kind of like monthly, or
Okay.
depends on the needs sometimes, but yeah, something like that.
Also, there are questions about family. Do you bring your family to Perth?
Yes, of course, and she's the biggest support system for me. She's doing PhD as well, so sometimes we were like
Ah,
staring at at the wall together.
wow.
Yeah, just kind of like writer's block
So you
sometimes
also
it
bring
happens.
your son,
No, my only my wife and I who
only
are
your
here.
wife.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
But like some other students, they bring their family, like they have children as well. And this is a very good opportunities as well for the kids to get exposed to different cultures, to learn English, to learn in a Australian education system, which is really interesting. And I would say different to what we typically have in Indonesia.
Mhm. Obviously, this one for you as well, Pasugi. Working
Yes,
opportunities for PhD
yeah,
candidate.
the opportunities are there. It depends on you, depends on how you build your network. It depends on how uh well, it depends as well on the type of your scholarships as well, because certain scholarship would require you to go back to Indonesia, like
Mhm,
right after you finished.
mhm.
But certain certain scholarship providers, they don't have that kind of requirement.
Okay. What
So
about?
yeah,
Mhm.
yes,
Sorry.
and also they have the for PhD that you are eligible for a graduate visa. I think it's 4+1, like 4 years plus one or something
Yeah.
like that.
So
So once you
yeah,
have
when you
graduated, you can actually have that kind of visa. You can work full time anywhere in Australia.
Mhm. What about
so
your
po-
part-time working during your PhD? Do you have time for that?
I
The
do, I do.
part-time one.
Yeah, I am quite fortunate. I work at the library as a one of the peer assistants. So actually, I am helping students with learning technologies. Not that I am expert in learning technologies, but
Oh, wow.
you know, um, yeah, a good experience.
Right. You were about to say something, Natalie. Sorry.
yeah, sorry, just to say, undergraduate, so bachelor and master's by coursework students get a 2-year post-study work right visa after they graduate, plus 1 year if you've studied in Perth. Master's by research would get 3 years plus 1 year, and PhD 4 years plus 1 year.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
yeah. And also for master and PhD students, their children can study for free in the Australian education system, only in Western Australia, so not available for any other state.
Cool. Okay, the last question. I believe this is the last question. Uh, do you have any experts research or research group that concern on the freshwater or inland water area at ECU, Ms. Natalie? And is there any chance for PhD candidate to join the research group?
Yes, again, that's a very specific question that we probably would take offline to be able to give you more information. But yes, there is lots of research being conducted at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, so this will be the last question. Don, if you want to put up the last two slides for Natalie to finish. We are a little bit over time, but I think it's okay.
Yeah, no, I think Lange, you've already mentioned this to register for the ECU e-guide. It's a personal guide that will, condense the information. You can select more information about Perth, about accommodation and your field of study, and they will put that all into a guide and send it to you. So yes, encourage you to register for the guide.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
There you go. That's the end of our slide. So teman-teman, jangan lupa sedikit ingin mengingatkan mengenai AECC services untuk teman-teman. Apabila Anda berminat untuk study di ECU, just contact us at AECC Global. Kami akan pastikan informasi kepada kalian mengenai program yang ingin Anda ambil dan detail lainnya mengenai tuition fee, mengenai living cost, akomodasi juga visa untuk ECU di Perth. Kami juga akan minta Anda untuk melengkapi dokumen dan kami akan masukkan aplikasi ke ECU melalui platform kami. Kami juga akan bantu Anda mendapatkan letter of acceptance atau letter of offer untuk Anda dan akan bantu Anda untuk accept the offer atau apabila belum siap untuk defer the offer. Kami juga akan bantu Anda untuk pre-departure dalam arti mencarikan akomodasi pada saat di Perth sebelum Anda berangkat. Kemudian juga membuatkan student visa dan juga mengatur penjemputan Anda pada saat tiba di Perth when the time comes. Oke, jadi ada 5 step yang kami lakukan dan asisten yang kami berikan tentunya free of charge. Alright. Thank you teman-teman untuk stay tune in our sessions today. Mudah-mudahan sesi ini sangat berguna untuk sebagai masukan bagi kita semua. I would also like to thank you again, Natalie, Isabelle, and Pak Sugi for being here today and sharing your valuable experience with us. All the best to Pak Sugi in your Ph.D. study. Sekali lagi saya ingatkan teman-teman, jangan lupa bagi semua teman-teman yang tune in saat ini untuk follow IG-nya AECC Global. Dan juga IG-nya Edith Cowan University dan juga daftarkan diri Anda melalui e-guide. Who knows, you can win the one of the 10 vouchers available worth 100,000 rupiah. Okay. Alright. Terima kasih sekali lagi semuanya, Natalie, Isabelle, Pak Sugi. And teman-teman, you have a great weekend ahead of you. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Here at ECU, we're fortunate to have in our community many different religions, and we have people from over 100 countries across the world. That gives the university a very cosmopolitan feel of togetherness, a feel of community. We're proud to celebrate our multi-faith communities, and we welcome the month of Ramadan with peace, harmony, and joy. Let the spirit of Ramadan remain in your hearts and light up your soul. Ramadan Kareem.
আশা করি সবাই এই রমজানে সুস্থ এবং নিরাপদ থাকবেন। রমজানুল মোবারক।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম সবাইকে। এই রমজানে সবার পরিবারের উপরে শান্তি বর্ষিত হোক এবং এই পবিত্র মাসে আল্লাহর রহমত বর্ষিত হোক সবার উপরে এবং সবাই ভালো থাকবেন এবং আমরা একত্রিত হয়ে এই রমজানটা খুব সুখে শান্তিতে পালন করব।
Saya menyampaikan selamat berpuasa kepada muslimin dan muslimat di seluruh dunia. Semoga Ramadan kali ini membawa kebahagiaan dan keberkahan. Terima kasih.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat menunaikan ibadah puasa. Semoga Allah menerima semua amalan ibadah kita dan taubat-taubat kita.
रमज़ान मुबारक मेरे फेलो स्टूडेंट्स और स्टाफ मेंबर्स को। मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ कि रमज़ान हमारे लिए अमन खुशहाली वाला होगा। रमज़ान मुबारक आप सबको और आपकी फैमिली।